How does India look like from space?
Looking at India in the daytime, colors are amazing. The Himalayas are absolutely amazing. As you can see, when the rivers run off, how they interact. Night, India is pretty spectacular. The cities are lit up and all those lights seems to be like connected.
Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore are still stuck in space and are not expected to return.
10-day test flight turned into a 9-month-long mission in space.
This after their Boeing Starliner faced thruster failure.
This time, this flight, the last one, was pretty messed up.
Once after we launched and then we got to the space station, we knew we weren't going to come home as planned. We knew it would be 6 more months. When you're in space and coming home is a byproduct of this business. It's risky.
How many situations do you plan for?
Oh gosh, hundreds. Trained for 2 years for a launch of a spacecraft because we go through with our control team, hey, what if this failed? What if that failed? And what's the probability of this and that happening?
Was there any point where you heard some sound and you got scared?
We were all a little on edge in this latest flight when we had a satellite below us in orbit explode, and then there was a bit of a debris field. And so we were woken up in the middle of the night to all go to our own spacecraft. It's called Safe Haven. And we all sort of hugged each other. Hopefully I'll see you on Earth.
Did you feel lonely in one of those 286 days?
People that you end up living in space, they become family.
Have you cried in space?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I miss people and I missed my dog. So of course I cried.
What was the most difficult part for you of the training?
Like if I have to just go do something, it doesn't bother me. I've trained, I've done it, like spacewalk stuff, robotic stuff doesn't make me nervous. But academics in college were hard for me.
Before starting today's episode, I have a small request. The whole team and I are working very hard to bring bigger and bigger guests for you so that we can give you more value and learnings through better conversations. And to continue doing that, I need you to subscribe our channel. It's free and takes only 2 seconds. And we promise that if you do this, we'll keep bringing the top 1% guests from all around the world and make you prouder one day. Our today's guest has done 9 spacewalks, spent more than 62 hours walking in space, more than any other woman in human history. Very few women get to lead the International Space Station, and she's not just commanded the ISS once, but twice. She has been part of 3 epic ISS missions, spent 608 days in space, the second most of any NASA astronaut ever. I'm talking about Sunita Williams, the woman who's flown 40 different aircraft, served as a Navy captain, and is also the first human being ever to have run a marathon in space. And just last year, she was stranded in space for 9 months when a spacecraft failed. The whole world watched, but she didn't panic, she took the charge. And in this conversation, we'll figure out the training, the mindset, the sacrifices it took to become one of the greatest female astronauts in the world. And what does it take to build a mindset where you can be calm when everything is going against you. I'm just really, really honored to do this. I just wanted you to know this.
Well, thank you. It's fun. It's great to be here. It's great to have a podcast. I know it opens up to another audience. So thank you for the invitation.
Everybody knows you, but let's say if 0.01% people don't know you,
okay,
then what about your childhood you would tell them, which has shaped you the person who you are today?
I think the biggest thing about my childhood that shaped me was I came from a family that was multicultural, multi-religions, multi-food, most important, I guess. And that's it's a big benefit. You don't realize it when you're a kid, it's life, it's how it is. But I think just appreciation for different cultures at a young age, not even realizing it, I think was really beneficial and set me up for success, I would say, just because I feel like I can relate to a lot of different people, or at least have the patience to listen for a moment.
At what point in your childhood you felt like this is a strength? Like being multicultural is a strength.
Oh
Not
gosh, I don't think I realized it for a long time, for a while. Like it was a little bit, I think more so, we were different. We are a different family, and we all knew that. But I didn't know if it was a strength until later on in life, where just easy to deal with people. I think.
What do you mean by different?
Well, we were the only Indian family in our town.
Okay.
Or partially Indian family. So I think we stuck out pretty much. My sister and I had long hair, of course, long Indian hair. While we were growing up, we were also swimmers. And so we were the type that got up in the morning and swam before school, coming into school with wet hair. And so we were just different in regards to other people in the town, I think. People knew who we were then, too, the Pandyas. Yeah.
Did you at any point feel like that was maybe a weakness, or that maybe put you in a different light than other people?
Oh, sure. Like as a kid, of course, when you're like a kid, or more so like when you're an early teen, you're when you don't blend in with everybody else and you're a little bit different. Of course, that's a little bit uncomfortable. But it also at the same time, I think, confident, secure in myself, that I thought the more important thing was athletics and academics, and I didn't really bother me that much.
Were you insecure at any point?
Absolutely, my whole life. I think everybody is. They just have to sort of push through it, and I think that's part of life, is just like pushing through boundaries and things that make you feel a little uncomfortable, and that's where you can achieve more. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Tell me about your biggest insecurity.
Gosh, my biggest. I don't know about my biggest. I mean, just my whole job from being, like, first of all, as an athlete, you get on the starting blocks, you're nervous, right? So that's one thing. You're a little bit insecure about your capabilities and your abilities. It gets proven in the pool or on the track or wherever it is. But, just getting to that starting point, as they say, is a little bit scary. And then just, I think, in all of the things that in my career that I've done, I had major insecurities about it. Like, wow, am I going to be able to pass this check ride? Am I going to be able to be a pilot? Am I going to be able to know how to do a spacewalk? Am I going to be able to do the robotic arm? I think all those things, I think there's points of insecurity. Yes, you prepare as best as you can, but then at one point in time, at least myself, I doubt myself at times.
Do you do that today?
Absolutely. I think we all do it. I think we all do that. Like, if you don't, then you're not really being introspective, I think.
True.
I think it's hard to think that you know everything and not have an appreciation for the rest of the world around you that might have a surprise for you.
What are you insecure about today? Like, you've accomplished so many things now.
A lot. I mean, the next steps of my life. What am I going to do in the next steps of my life? We're moved. I'm retired. We've moved. What am I going to do? I don't know. And I think I'm insecure about it, but I don't really care, because I know better now. It's all going to work out. I wish I had known that when I was a kid, because I think those insecurities take over a little bit more when you're younger, when you don't realize it's all going to work out.
It's so fascinating. You do, like, your main work is uncertainty for living. Like, that's what, like, you don't know what's going to happen the next moment. And you think about what's going to happen next. That's like, you're insecure about the uncertainty in your life, like what's going to happen now. But you've lived all your life just thinking about, let's live in the moment and not think about what's going to happen next.
Yes, and I think you bring up a good point. I think that is the way you deal with it. Like, let's live in the moment. Like, I think people have insecurities, of course, when they look in the future, but you can't make it. You can guide it, but you can't anticipate every little thing. So living in the moment is, I think, the best methodology.
You say a lot about that. You've made a pivot. Every time things don't work out, you made a pivot. So you wanted to become something else in the childhood. Then you applied for certain things, you didn't get in, and then you finally ended up becoming who you are today. How did you know that this is something that you don't want to give up? Because every time when it didn't work out, you just pivoted. You're like, maybe not for me, not for me, not for me. And then,
well, I like, this is another thing I think I wish I knew when I was a younger kid, that, things work out for a reason. Maybe it's because you have better qualifications in one area than another, although you think this is what you might want to do, and be ready for those extra doors to open that you didn't even anticipate. So those are things that like I said, I wish I had known then, because I think I was a little bit more, had more anticipation, maybe a little bit more nervousness about it when I was younger, versus just like sort of going with the flow, because like, let's just see what's behind the next door, because it might be something that I never even imagined and things like that. So that's why I mention this when I'm talking to kids about this younger age pivot, about trying to know what you want to do when you're 17. That seems almost ridiculous now that I look back and think about it. And I find myself asking kids too, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do when you grow up? How the heck do they know? It's sort of a silly question to ask them. So more should be like, what are you interested in? What kinds of things have you been exposed to, or what do you want to do something else, or can I guide you to a direction that might be something that you never even thought of? That's, I think, more appropriate questions, honestly, now that I look back at the whole thing, because how the heck do you know what you want to do when you're a kid? And I think that causes a lot of anxiety and stress with people, and you don't need to have that.
True. What got you interested in this? In space, in NASA, in the things that you do?
I wasn't really a straight shot, so it wasn't what I wanted to do when I was a kid. Even when I was a pilot, I really wasn't a helicopter pilot. It wasn't the first thing on my list. It wasn't until later that I got exposed to it. So that's why I say, like, when I was just mentioning, like, if I'm talking to a kid, like, how can I expose you to something else? Like, just take a look at, the space program. Take a look at aviation. Those are my backgrounds, right? Take a look at diving, or, expose them to some other adult that has done something different, just so they get an idea of things that are out there. Anyway, it wasn't until I met somebody who had gone to space, gone to Johnson Space Center, and then I was like, wow, this job looks like fun. And some of those people were my friends that I had known as a test pilot. So I trusted their opinion also. So getting to know more and more people who are in the jobs that potentially you might like is a good idea. So like, if I had not really talked to a veterinarian for when I went to the vet with my dog. So probably I should have done like some type of internship somewhere with a veterinarian to find out if I really like that. But I didn't do that.
True. So, but let's say you got interested in it, but before you enter, I'm assuming, like, before you enter a rocket, they would test you in some way, right? Maybe mentally, physically, there would be some kind of training going on.
Oh, absolutely. When you first get to become an astronaut, wherever you're going to be an astronaut, if it's an American astronaut at Johnson Space Center, European in Cologne, or, Japanese at JAXA, or if you're going to be Shukla and do an Axiom flight, you're going to be tested one way or the other here or during the process to, one, become an astronaut, and then two, and you're on your journey to get trained to be ready to go. So there's testing all the way along the way. So that's sometimes intimidating, right? And going back to the insecurities a little bit, that's sort of like, wow, I've never learned how to do this before. I don't know if I know how to do a robotic, operate the robotic arm, or, get ready for a spacewalk. How am I going to learn how to do this? And, you find the mentors, the people who have done it before, same time, all the way back. It's full circle. Like, it's like having, talking to a kid about something that they might want to do, and find out as much as you can and learn as much as you can, and study and figure it all out. And actually, if you have to, studying means also, like, for spacewalks, work out, right? Because it's physically demanding. So you know what you need to do, the background for each of those things, and do the best that you can.
Is there any psychological screening that you go through?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There is definitely some testing, like just on paper testing. Okay. I'm not really sure what all that indicates, but there is some of that. Maybe it's just to annoy you, because you have to take do a lot of written tests. I don't know what it's for exactly. But then there's parts where we are looking at astronauts together as they're getting interviewed, giving them a problem that's very hard to solve, and seeing how they do that. And that's not just like a paper problem, like take this whatever, this table and move it over this bridge and around this water and put it there and put people in groups and see who naturally falls out as a leader, who naturally, adds to the team. So we want to make sure we have team players because none of this is done by ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we also do along the path when you're getting trained during the time that you're waiting, we go to National Outdoor Leadership School. So you learn a little bit about yourself. As well as other people, because it's taking you away out of the scenario to some place. Maybe you're backpacking, maybe you're doing rafting or something where you're in an uncomfortable situation. You're not sleeping in your own bed. You're sleeping in a tent. You're making your own food. You're going to the bathroom in weird places, getting you sort of ready for working as a team, and then finding out where your hot spots are, where your points are that make you uncomfortable. I like organizing, my stuff. Everybody has their little nest whenever they have the things that they have. And when somebody doesn't and their stuff's all over the place, it a little bit drives me crazy. And so I know that about myself. So I know when I might encounter a crewmate that has stuff like all over the place, it might cause me anxiety, but that's my problem and I have to deal with that. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you understand more about yourself because you can't change other people.
What was the most difficult part for you
The most difficult part
of the training?
I get nervous about tests. I think it's more like just when you have to do rote memorization. I think that's what I was I was a lot insecure about, if you want to go back to that. Well, during my college academics, I struggled. I did really well in high school. So I had a base because I went to a really good high school, our public high schools. But academics in college were hard for me. Just taking tests were hard. Understanding, I don't know, whatever. Written tests are hard. So that's carried through my whole life. So whenever I have a written test, I can feel that I get a little bit nervous about it. Actually doing something, I don't get nervous about. Like
Not
if
at
I
all.
have to just go do something, it doesn't bother me. Like I've trained, I've done it, like spacewalk stuff, robotic stuff doesn't make me nervous. I just sort of put the things together logically in my head and I can do the task. But memorizing things and writing stuff down, that's
the tough part.
That's tough for me.
But what happens, is it not tough when 5 thrusts are failing? You're in middle of situation where it's chaotic, you don't know what's going to happen.
I think,
Isn't that tough? You have to compartmentalize that particular moment.
Compartmentalization is something that we've trained to do quite a bit, just with our military training as a military pilot, because you can only fix one thing at a time, and you have to just know your systems well enough to understand what capabilities you have and how you're going to work with those capabilities. So as the thrusters were failing, yes, this is a bad situation. Butch and I looked at each other and were like, oh, this is not so good. But we knew what we needed to do. What we really needed to do was dock to the space station because we didn't know how our spacecraft would react if we were doing other maneuvers at that point in time. So that was the biggest thing. And I think, just like the movie The Martian, if you look at how he solved problems, it's like one little bite at a time. When you have a big problem, you can't deal with it, right? It's too much. It's overwhelming. I think just in life that happens too. Sometimes you I don't know, if you're want to change something at your house, sometimes the project looks too big and you just have to take one little bite at a time. Okay, I'm just going to start with painting, or I'm just going to start, with picking out something that I have to add to my house. Same thing happens with these big problems, right? With thrusters, okay, we can't go outside and fix them. So we have to deal with what we have, and we have to just handle this situation. And we didn't start thinking about, at least I didn't start thinking about how we are going to come home. I thought let's just focus on docking and everything, because there's many parts of all of that. And make sure that is all squared away. If that doesn't happen, then we'll work on the next thing. So you solve things one piece at a time. I think that's how you solve big problems.
But is there any mental technique that helps you keep calm during the time of chaos? Is there some kind of breath work that you do? Is it some kind of visualization technique, something that you do? Or you're just trained yourself so much that you don't care? Like it just comes naturally.
I think it comes naturally at this point, honestly. We've all been in situations flying aircraft that something doesn't work quite right, and you just sort of have to figure it out and get it on the ground when you can. I mean, I have my own little aircraft, and that situation happened at one point in time when the winds picked up quite a bit, and I had to just sort of figure out, like, okay, we're not going to land here, we're not going to land here, we're going to land here, but at some point in time we have to land. We're running out of gas, so you have to make that situation happen, right? Same thing with spacewalks too. Like, something might not go well right from the get-go, but it doesn't mean you stop and you just don't do anything. On my first spacewalk, I lost a camera. You can't just sit there and be sad about these things. You just have to move on and pick the pieces up and just go with what you have. And the same thing with the thruster situation on Starliner. And, we knew that there would be a plan. We practiced quite a bit with our mission control team about what we call like no radio procedures, NORDO procedures. And so if we weren't able to communicate with them, I think we would have already had a plan to go into 10 meters and wait there and try to figure out how the spacecraft flew. If the spacecraft didn't fly very well, then we would back away because we wouldn't want to put the space station in danger.
How many situations do you plan for before you go?
Oh gosh, hundreds. And that's what all that training is for. So people sometimes say, like, why do you have to train for 2 years for a launch of a spacecraft? Because we go through with our control team all of the different things that not us, only them, all of them think of, hey, what if this failed? What if that failed? And what's the probability of this and that happening? So people have talked through all of that as much as they can. So it was interesting, actually. I was just talking to somebody about an electric airplane. I'm like, what kind of failures do you have there? Because usually when you're thinking about failures of something mechanical like your car, there's oil, there's gas, there's mechanical parts. So if it's an electric vehicle, what problems do you have there? So batteries, obviously. So it's a whole different, every mechanical thing has some type of problems. And so you just got to be creative in the way you think about the failures.
Has it ever happened that you've trained for everything and still something new has happened?
Oh, the thruster failure, obviously. We've trained for failure, thruster problems, and we've actually flown the simulator with 1 or 2 thrusters not working, and of course the controls are sloppy. So 5 was a big deal, and actually went against some of our flight rules about how we were going to operate the spacecraft. And so that's when the control team came into play, and then they turned off some of the monitoring systems as well as restarted the engines. And that way we were able to at least get controllability, make sure we had controllability in all 6 axes because we lost in 1. And then we were able, bypassing some flight rules, because they usually say that it has to be redundant. We went in and tried to dock and were successful. So that was great.
Has it ever happened that some astronaut has like broken psychologically? Like at one point, maybe they were not able to take it.
No, I mean, I think the training is good enough that we make sure we send everybody up has those tools in their tool belt. They'll be okay. I mean, everybody understands stress a little bit different. And like I said, that's why we do some of that National Outdoor Leadership School. So you can understand that. And you can see that when you're with your other crewmates. Some people like some time by themselves. Some people are very chatty, when they get stressed out. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen at some point in time. So to a degree, though, everybody's in a controllable box, so.
Have you cried in space?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I miss people and I missed my dog. So of course I cried, absolutely. There's been goods and bads. I mean, and also for really good things that have happened too. A friend of mine, her mom was sick while we were in space, and just having those conversations, that's just, your friends, your colleagues. If someone told you, their parent was sick and they were having some problems, and that's hard to deal with, and so you're helping somebody else, and you're just being a friend, a shoulder that somebody can lean on. Yeah. And the same thing happens. Like I get frustrated with something, and I'm talking to one of the crewmates up there about something, or something that's happening at home. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everyone goes through this normal emotions here as in there. Yeah.
So what happens when you cry in space? Your tears don't fall.
Oh,
Right?
yeah. Everything, water all around you gets just sort of balled up on you. Same with like when you're working out, you get super sweaty because stuff just gets like too much water everywhere. So you need a couple tissues.
So like you just start crying. Like, is it difficult? Is it like just stuck?
Will just make your eyes very watery, like really watery. You got to get rid of that though, so you can see.
And
You'll be like a fish in an aquarium.
I have to ask you a weird question. Like, what's the worst part about using a bathroom in space?
Oh gosh, so much bad about it. No gravity assist. And so for me, first of all, you just absolutely just being able to do it the first thing, right? Because you need to get rid of everything at some point in time, get rid of all that bad stuff. So you have to go to the bathroom. So doing it, first of all, getting over the fear of like going, because it's not going to fall down. So it's like, okay, you just got to go and turn the hose on and it'll take it away and don't worry about it. So then the number 2 part, that's also adds your body's not used to it. So you have to sort of get your body used to those muscles to push everything out the right way. And then it's just sort of, I wait till I'm ready to go. And then I could just go. I think that takes care of it. That takes care of all the wishy-washy about it. If you can't really, you have to commit. You have to just get in there and just go.
You also said, I was reading somewhere, you said that people fart a lot up there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot. And I don't know why exactly, but it just happens. Everybody does, because if it's the preservatives in the food or something like that, I'm not really sure why, but everybody does. And I think after a while, potentially people get used to it, and it seems like it happens a little less for some people, but sometimes for other people, it just keeps going on. It's terrible.
And then you have to live up in that space for like the days, and it smells bad.
No, it'll move.
Okay.
We have a pretty good ventilation system, so stuff starts to move around pretty quick. But if somebody farted and you're like right behind them flying through the module, you're going to fly right through it.
How does space smell like?
It smells like us. It smells like the food that we eat, and it smells like us. But interestingly enough, I think it's not that bad, because like we had at some periods of time 12 people on the space station, when generally 7, and people are all working out, people are all eating, and to me it didn't smell that bad at all. I mean, it was just sometimes a little stronger when some stronger types of food. I eventually got Indian food, for example, so you could smell that. Some things with garlic, obviously you could smell that. I actually really like the smell of garlic, so for me it was fine. Sometimes fish, because we had like a lot of salmon or tuna fish, and so that sticks around for a little bit longer maybe, but it all ends up dissipating.
So that smell. What about the sound? Because ISS, it creaks and moans, right? Like you can hear that sound almost all the time.
Some areas. It also depends on what the sunlight, how our orbit is in comparison to the sun. So sometimes when we're getting heated up quite a bit, there's some areas which the metal sort of just pops and bends a little bit, and then that was reported, obviously. Somebody was like, what happened? And so then we realized what the situation is. So whenever there's like a lot of sun on these parts, are called the pressurized mating adapter, because they're black on the outside. If you look at different parts of the space station, you'll see most of it's silver, which is sort of reflective, but some of it is this black part. And that's the part that gets really hot. It makes those creaks and moans and bumps. Other things beside for that are some of the ventilation, and you can hear stuff kick on, start up, and shut down. That happens periodically, obviously. You can find it on the, if you go into the computer page where it has the system that has that specific system, you probably see what happens.
Have you heard any scary sound? Like, what's the scariest sound you've heard? I'm just like childlike curious right now at this point.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
When you were stuck like for 286 days, what's the most scariest sound you heard?
Gosh, I'm trying to think of something. I think valves moving, closing, and opening. I don't know. I am used to the space station. The space station is sort of like a second home. So my first time up there, I'm looking at it up on the wall. That's why I'm looking at this. I'm trying to think of what was scary. But my first time there, when I was in the forward part of the space station, living there by myself with my 2 other Russian colleagues in the way back, yeah, I got scared a little bit because first time I'm like very hypersensitive to all of these switching of pumps and fans and noises. One antenna right outside there was a crew quarters there, would turn every now and then night, or I think it was a camera actually. And sometimes the folks in mission control would turn it so they could see stuff. And it was like right outside the window so we could hear inside. So I was asking a lot of questions during that flight, like, what's that? What's that? What's that? But now that I've lived there for a long time, I feel like I know most of the things that are happening, or I can figure it out. Like, okay, that sounds like a motor. That sounds like a valve. So that must be coming from over here. So this is this. So, it's just like as though you've, again, lived at your house for a long time.
Yeah.
So you get used to like when the furnace kicks on or something and like, oh yeah, that's happening again.
But for the first time you must have heard at that time, did it scare you?
The first time it did, because particularly when I was like I said, the only person living in that part of the space station, and my other American counterpart had gone home, and this is my responsibility, was this part of the space station. I was like, what is that? What is that? What is that? So I ended calling the ground a couple times, probably in that time frame, if I remember correctly. Just sort of, is that normal? Is that normal? And they were like, yes, don't worry about it.